Well, have you ever wondered why it hurts so much? Why even when everything seems okay, there's this constant weight in your chest? Like something's just out of place, right? Maybe you've tried everything. Meditation, advice from friends, pretending you're fine. But that suffering's still there, like a shadow that follows you quietly, doesn't it? I'm gonna tell you something nobody's probably had the courage to say to you before. Most of your suffering doesn't come from the world outside. It comes from within you, from the things you don't want to see, the parts of you that you've abandoned. Carl Jung, one of the greatest names in psychology, said, "What you do not bring to consciousness returns as fate." That's what's going on with you right now, you know? Life's trying to show you something, but you're not listening. You cover it up with distractions, bad habits, or empty relationships. You tell yourself it'll pass, but it doesn't, does it? Because pain doesn't want to be ignored. It wants to be understood. This video isn't just another piece of cheap self-help stuff, okay? I'm not here to throw you cheesy phrases or magic fixes. I'm here to challenge you, to make you face what you hide, even from yourself. Give me a few minutes of your time, just that, and I'll show you why you suffer so much and how you can start to break free. Not with tricks, but with real awareness. Maybe you're at the bottom of the well right now, you know? Maybe you're smiling on the outside while screaming on the inside. Or maybe you've learned to live with the pain like it's part of you. Whatever's happening, here's the hard truth. Your suffering keeps going because you haven't had the courage to look at its root. Jung dedicated his life to mapping this dark terrain of the human soul. He knew that only those who dive into their own darkness can find true light. So, if you're willing to face this with me, I promise you one thing. By the end of this video, you won't be the same. What you'll discover here can completely change how you understand yourself, your pain, and your freedom. Let's begin. You believe you're suffering because of others, your boss, your partner, the lack of money, or all the pressure the world puts on you. Sure, those things weigh heavy, but here's what you need to understand now. The real suffering, the kind that paralyzes you, that hurts even in silence, comes from being disconnected from who you really are. Jung said the greatest tragedy of the soul is to live a life that's not yours, and that's exactly what you're doing. From an early age, you were taught to fit in, to be accepted, to follow standards. Little by little, you drifted away from yourself. You became a character to please others, a puppet to avoid trouble. You silenced your desires, swallowed your anger, buried your sadness. Now you carry a pain you can't even name, a pain that doesn't scream but consumes you. This is the suffering of someone who looks in the mirror and doesn't recognize themselves, you know? You've gotten used to the role you were given, but your soul feels it. It knows when you're living a lie, and it screams through anxiety, insomnia, or apathy. That emotional pain is your soul's alarm, signaling that you're betraying yourself. You know, it's not the screw-ups that really hurt you. It's the fake ideas you've built about who you're supposed to be. It's not being alone that cuts deep. It's the emptiness of not knowing who you are when you're by yourself, right? It's not other people who mess you up. It's you. Every time you ditch yourself to keep up appearances. And as long as you're out of touch like this, the suffering's gonna stick around. Because you're trying to fix a wound on the outside when the real problem's deep inside you. But here's the big deal. This pain isn't a punishment. It's a wake-up call. Jung believed suffering was the first step to changing your life. Pain's there to pull you back to who you really are, you know? And that starts when you stop running and start listening. Listening to what you've buried, what you've hushed up, what you've forgotten about yourself. In the next part, we're going to dive into the scariest but most freeing part of your mind, the part you're afraid of, but the one that holds the key to fixing this. It's what Jung called the shadow. If you really want to stop hurting, you gotta face it, all right? If this is hitting home for you, hit that subscribe button and join the channel. Thanks for sticking with me. Now, you want to stop suffering, but you keep fighting the wrong stuff. Anxiety, guilt, anger, sadness. You treat those like enemies, like flaws you've got to wipe out, don't you? But what you don't get, or maybe don't want to admit, is that the real problem isn't out there. It's inside you, hiding, quiet. And that's what makes it dangerous. Carl Jung called this hidden part the shadow. And don't kid yourself. Everybody's got one, including you. The shadow's all the stuff you've pushed down, ignored, or denied about yourself. Your secret desires, your bottled up emotions, your anger you keep under wraps, your ambitions you dress up as something else, your fears you act like don't exist. It's the parts of you that you didn't want to be or couldn't be, but they're still there, lurking in the dark. And the more you pretend they're not, the more they control you. Think about it. Those times you blew up for no reason, or tanked a great opportunity, or walked away from a good relationship without knowing why. That's your shadow pulling the strings, you know? It sneaks into your thoughts, twists your feelings, and shapes what you do, all without you even noticing. Jung said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it'll run your life, and you'll call it fate." You think your suffering's just bad luck, karma, or some unfair deal? Maybe it's just your shadow calling the shots, and it's going to keep doing that until you look it square in the face. Here's the thing. Facing your shadow takes some serious guts, because you're going to have to own up to stuff you don't want to admit, you know? You'll have to stare in the mirror and see what you've always tried to hide. You'll have to stop acting like a victim and accept that there's a dark side in you. But it's human. It's you. But listen, this is the big point. Your shadow isn't the bad guy. It's the part of your soul you've kicked out. And like anything pushed away, it just wants to be seen, to be heard, to be part of you again. Jung didn't think you should fight the shadow. He said you should embrace it, turn it into strength, into clarity, into power. Because what you push away makes you weaker. But what you bring in sets you free, right? In the next part, we'll get into what to do with this shadow now that you're facing it. We're going to talk about the path of courage, the start of real healing, and how to take that first step to pull your broken soul back together. Because knowing your shadow is just the start. What you do with it changes everything. You've made it this far. You've faced the truth about being out of touch with yourself. You've looked your shadow in the eye. And now comes the moment that matters most, the showdown. It's not enough to just get why you're hurting, you know. Understanding's only the beginning. Healing means doing something. Something bold, raw, and sometimes painful. Because now you've got to do what most people never do. Walk through your inner chaos with your eyes wide open. Carl Jung was crystal clear. The road to finding yourself goes through a place most people are too scared to tread. And courage? It's not about not being afraid. It's about moving forward even when you are, right? Facing your unconscious, is like stepping into a dark zone where you don't call the shots. It's dropping the mask, letting go of the victim act, and admitting that part of your suffering comes from you. That takes brutal honesty. It means you stop lying to yourself. But what does facing the unconscious look like in real life? It's about listening to what your body's screaming when your brain wants to ignore it. That knot in your stomach when you're around the wrong person. That tightness in your chest when you put up with something that cuts you down. That weird exhaustion that hits when you fake a smile. All that's your unconscious trying to save you, not wreck you, you know? You can start small. Jot down your dreams. Notice what sets you off. Think about patterns you've been stuck in for years. Every time something throws you off, there's a message hiding in it. The unconscious talks in symbols, and your job now is to figure them out. Not in a rush, not by judging yourself, but by being there. Really listening to yourself. Not to make yourself feel better, but to face yourself head on, all right? You know, one of the best ways to face your unconscious is to sit down and write. Like you're spilling your deepest secrets to yourself. Write out what you're ashamed to feel, what you're scared to admit, the stuff you've never dared to say out loud. Because when you let those words out, they stop having power to tear you down, right? Another key tool is finding a therapeutic mirror, someone like a psychologist or a pro who can help you make sense of the signals your mind's sending you. Jung said the unconscious isn't a trash pile, it's a living intelligence, you know. It's trying to show you something, to heal you, but you've got to listen without filters, without defenses, without excuses. Want to stop suffering? Then you got to stop running. As long as you keep dodging it, suffering's gonna chase you down. But when you stop and face it head on, it starts to shift, it starts to change, and then you find out something nobody told you. The pain you're so scared of is actually a doorway. That's what we'll dig into next. The real role of pain in your life. Why it keeps showing up, even when everything seems fine. And most importantly, how it can become your biggest ally on the road to freedom. You ready to find out? Stick with me, all right? Most people spend their lives trying to get rid of pain. They pop pills, drown themselves in distractions, jump into shallow relationships, chase quick highs, pile up achievements, or post happy stuff online, all to avoid feeling it, you know? But here's a truth nobody wants to hear. As long as you try to ditch pain, it's gonna keep coming after you. Pain's not here to be erased, it's here to be listened to. Carl Jung saw suffering not as some glitch in life, but as a call to change. Pain's the signal that something's off inside you, something that needs to be seen, cared for, fixed up. It's your soul shouting, "This can't keep going." Every pain's got a message. Every bit of anguish is a code waiting for you to crack it. You just gotta stop treating pain like the enemy and start seeing it as a guide, right? Think about all the times life forced you to switch things up. How many of those changes happened when you were comfy? Probably none, huh? It's in the mess that your soul starts to sort itself out. It's in pain that your mind begs for a rebuild, and that's where real change kicks in. Jung said, you've got to go through suffering to the end to get past it. In other words, pain's not something to dodge, it's something to walk through, all right? Let's make this real. Picture someone who spends their life saying yes to everyone, always there, always smiling, always nodding along. Slowly they start feeling anxious, super tired, or just sad for no reason. They go to the doctor, get tests, maybe take some pills, but nothing fixes it, you know. That's because their body's screaming what their mind won't admit. Living a lie hurts, and it'll keep hurting until they stop faking it. Or think about someone stuck in the same bad relationship pattern, always picking people who shut them out, always feeling rejected, always thinking they're not enough. That pain's not just bad luck. It's a mirror. It's life showing them there's an old wound, maybe from way back, that needs healing. And until they face it, suffering's gonna keep reminding them, right? When you start seeing pain as a kind of language, everything shifts. What felt like punishment turns into a guide. Pain starts pointing the way, and as crazy as it sounds, you realize that suffering, when you really listen to it, can be your strongest tool for healing. It forces you to stop, to look, to change. And that's where you step up, because now you know. Ignoring pain is ignoring yourself. Running from pain is ditching yourself. But if you've got the guts to listen to it with humility, with focus, with curiosity, it'll lead you to a place you didn't even know existed, a place where you're at peace, not because life's perfect, but because you're finally whole. In the next part, we'll talk about that place. What happens when you stop fighting and start embracing everything you've pushed away. Real healing isn't about getting rid of pain. It's about turning pain into understanding. And that's what's waiting for you next. You know, there comes a moment, after all this inner struggle, when something clicks. Not with some big, dramatic bang, but quietly, deeply, like a breeze you barely notice, but it changes how you feel inside. It's the moment you stop resisting, and for the first time, maybe ever, you start to feel whole. But what does being whole even mean? It's about accepting everything you are, even the stuff you hate about yourself. It's about stopping the war with your emotions, quitting the chase for perfection, ditching the masks. It's when you realize your anger, your fear, your sadness, your shame, all those pieces you've spent your life hiding, are real parts of you. And when you embrace them instead of shoving them away, something wild happens. Your suffering starts to fade. Carl Jung called this individuation, not about being special, but about being yourself. No filters, no fakes. This kind of realness doesn't come from ego. It comes from acceptance. It's not about finding yourself. It's about uncovering yourself. And only those who are brave enough to walk through the ruins of their own soul and rebuild what's broken can really get there, you know. At this point, you see you don't need to hide your pain anymore. It's not who you are. It's just the path you took. You look back and realize every crisis, every fall, every emotional breakdown had a point, to strip away the lies, to force you to let go of control, to make you drop what wasn't true so you could step into what is. And this truth? It's not easy. It doesn't save you from being vulnerable. It demands you show up. It demands choices. Because now that you know your shadow, now that you get what pain's for, now that you feel the power of being who you are, you can't just coast through life anymore. You start seeing who lifts you up and who drags you down. You stop putting up with stuff you used to just to avoid a fight. You start saying no without guilt, and you finally say yes to yourself. This change is quiet, but huge, you know. It's not about becoming someone new. It's about stopping the betrayal of who you've always been. And right here, you learned something nobody taught you. You didn't need to fix yourself to be worth loving. You just needed to accept yourself, to stop living like you're not enough. The peace you were chasing out there, it was waiting inside you all along. But heads up, this is where a lot of people stop. The pain's gone, life's flowing, and they think that's it. But there's one more step, one Jung said was crucial, because healing yourself isn't done until it turns into something you give back. What do you do with your light after you've walked through the dark? How do you live now that you're awake? That's what we'll hit in the final part, the choice to live differently. Not just to get by, but to live with purpose, with clarity, with responsibility. Because now that you've been reborn, life's asking more from you, right? Now you know, you can't pretend you didn't hear this. You felt every word hit deep, like a knife, and you still stayed. That